Today, we're going to dig into a really critical strategic challenge facing Nepali businesses. We're talking about how to take a hidden asset, what is essentially a digital gold mine that's currently just a cost, and turn it into a powerful new stream of revenue. At the heart of all this is a paradox. It's a strange situation, really. Every single day, businesses across Nepal are collecting a mountain of digital information. Customer orders, notes from the call center, delivery reports. But here's the thing. This wealth of data is often just stored away, and its potential value is left to, well, rot. So that brings us to the big question for this entire explainer. What if all that money you're spending just to store data could be completely transformed? What if that digital graveyard could actually become your company's most powerful engine for making a profit? The source material we're looking at has a great name for this problem, the digital Bahara. Basically, a huge, disorganized warehouse full of data. It's a really powerful metaphor for a business practice that is quietly costing companies a fortune. The practice itself is called data hoarding, and it's usually driven by this vague feeling that, hey, maybe someday this information will be useful. But without a real plan, that someday just never comes. The data just sits there, becoming a dead cost. You're paying for storage and maintenance, but getting nothing back. It's the digital version of a pile of dead logs. So how do we solve this? Well, it starts with a really crucial insight. The problem isn't the data itself. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the two different kinds of data that businesses collect. It's all about making the shift from knowing what happened to truly understanding why it happened. Now, take a look at this, because the contrast is what's so interesting. On the left, you've got your structured data. Think of clean, organized spreadsheets. This data tells you what? Sales are down 15%. Okay, good to know. But on the right, you have unstructured data, all the messy, chaotic stuff, like notes from a call center or a driver's log. This tells you why. Why are sales down? Because a competitor just launched a new discount. Why was the delivery late? Because a landslide blocked the highway. The real strategic value, the thing that gives you a competitive edge, is buried in the why. For generations, a lot of business decisions in Nepal have been guided by intuition, by the Sethji's gut feeling. And look, that kind of experience is valuable, for sure. But in today's market, it's just not enough anymore. Relying on intuition alone, especially when your competitors are analyzing the why, is becoming an incredibly risky way to run a business. So what's the solution then? Well, it's not about building these massive, incredibly expensive AI labs. It's about something much more practical, much more accessible. Let's call it pragmatic AI. The core idea here is the classic 80-20 principle. You don't need some perfect, all-knowing algorithm to get ahead. The reality is, you can get about 80% of the business value by using simple, targeted tools that only require about 20% of the typical cost and complexity. Let's make this real. Imagine this in action for a service company, say an internet provider. Instead of just waiting for customers to get frustrated and leave, a simple tool can scan all your call logs for negative words and sentiment. You combine that with their service history to create a churn risk score. And here's the key outcome. You can now act proactively. You can contact customers who are at risk of leaving before they switch to your competitor. Okay, how about a logistics company? Same principle. By combining your sales history with that messy, unstructured data, like drivers' reports on road conditions and public weather forecasts, a simple model can predict something like a 40% spike in demand for a product because of an upcoming festival. This lets you dispatch stock early, so you avoid a stock out and capture all that revenue your competitors are going to miss. So the technology is definitely accessible. But there's another bottleneck, and this one is a human one. We all know there's a shortage of highly trained data scientists. But the solution isn't to just sit and wait for them. It's about creating a new kind of role from within your own team. This is what we call the data translator. Now, this person is not a coder. This is your marketing manager or your head of logistics, someone who knows the business inside and out. You train them not to code, but to ask the right questions of the data. They become that absolutely vital bridge between your business strategy and your technical team. And here's the key difference. A data scientist is focused on building technically perfect models, but a data translator is focused on identifying high-value business problems that data can actually solve. One is a scarce, expensive resource that's hard to find. The other is a huge opportunity to upskill your best existing employees and start getting results right away. So all of this brings every Nepali business to a strategic crossroads. There are two very clear paths you can take, and they lead to two very different outcomes. The source material calls the proactive choice the alpha path. On the one hand, you have the path of inertia. Here, IT remains just a cost center, management keeps relying on gut feel, and your data-driven competitors slowly but surely chip away at your market share. Or you can choose the alpha path. On this path, IT becomes a profit engine. Your decisions become data-informed, and you start to anticipate market shifts, which leads to agile, profitable growth. Choosing this alpha path means you fundamentally start looking at data as a core asset, just like your capital or your employees. It creates this amazing virtuous cycle, where small analytical wins prove the return on investment, which then justifies more investment. This doesn't just make you more profitable and resilient, it makes your company far more attractive to investors, both at home and abroad. But here's the hard truth. The biggest barrier on this path isn't money, and it isn't technology. It's mindset. It's that cultural shift from doing business based on intuition to a framework that's informed by data. And that requires leadership with the courage to embrace transparency and to trust the patterns that the data reveals. So the conclusion here is pretty clear. All those terabytes of data sitting on your servers aren't just dead weight. They're a dormant asset, and they're just waiting. The final question then is a direct one for every single business leader out there. Do you have the vision to awaken them?